Mechanics. My name is Donovan Neal, Director of the Status Initiative, and I'm the host of Soul Mechanics. I present to you our extremely wonderfully beautiful, lovely, talented, and skilled Miss Merovingian, as she's calling herself for her new YouTube channel, primarily dedicated to sexuality at the moment. And this is for our habitual Soul Mechanics Habitual Excellence course, introducing ourselves to some of the transgender community groups that I've been joining in search of a rep. So we're going to touch on that topic. I have to say in advance, I do apologize if it cuts us off. I'm not sure how much time that we do have, but if it does cut us off, we'll continue on later. Anyways, yeah, this is our special crossover event. So hello, everybody. I suppose we'll start us off with. What I wanted to talk about. But I think about the transgender community. I guess I would say is I feel like that's an evolution of our sexuality. Personally, that's my outlook on it. I suppose I ask what you think in general about it, Norie. Norie and Holly is her name. Miss Merovingian is what she's calling herself.
First of all, that Merovingian name, that'll be my legal name soon, and it deals with my ability in the mystical world. Right. I have noticed things because, transgender people have always been pulled towards me. I have been able to have several case studies, and when I cross-reference anyone who is transgender with what I know in mystical realm, I have noticed that there are certain factors that show up in the astrological placements and also the shape of the hands. I don't really think it's an involvement. I think that it is tied directly to the amount of hormones a woman excretes during her pregnancy. I have yet to find a transgender person whose mother was free from stress. The hands determine the personality, and the second digit and the fourth digit will show a person's sexuality, whether they're dominant, submissive, masculine, or feminine. And when I examine the hands of transgender people, if I am examining a female who identifies as a male, their hands support their feelings inside. So that's how I explain it. I am sure that transgender population is only growing because of awareness and acceptance is growing as well. I am positive that these people have existed throughout time, just as homosexuality existed in great abundance many, many years ago. It just was not accepted, understood, talked about. Also, the age of information allows us to have more connection to humanity and to know more about existing populations in any subculture.
All right. But what I'd like to add is that when I say that I think it's an evolution of our sexuality, in a sense, I want to try and put together right here and now, kind of lock it down that, science and technology, that's not outside of the realm of what we consider to be mystical and such. It's all part of the same system. It's all part of the same mechanism. And that now, I'm sure transgender people have been around forever and ever and ever. It's a natural occurrence. It happens. But it's a strange occurrence that we have a lot of questions about. It's something to look into. Certainly an investigation to be had as to exactly what's happening there and why. But we have the technology in play now that allows for them to actually follow through with the transition and become, to actually transform their gender, which that's a big deal. That's changing everything. And yes, we're learning to accept it. I worry a lot about people who don't accept it. Like I dated a trans girl for a while. I really fell head over heels for her, and I worried when she went out that she might get assaulted by somebody, That's something that I think about. I don't like that. There are a lot of people who do accept it. That's great. It's wonderful. but the people who don't accept it, they're in my mind, from what I see, they're going to be violent people. They're going to be shitty people, for the most part.
It comes along with the background a person was raised within. Anyone of an extreme religious nature is not going to approve of it because they are taught not to. The honest church only is against that because homosexuality or transgender don't really repopulate. So when you're in the business of making more little minions who can pay you money, you are also in the business of shutting down unions who will not reproduce.
That's actually a question I'd like to raise. Is that something I've seen a lot of, I don't know if they're like scam ads or whatnot, but I've seen articles talking about transgender people actually being able to get pregnant now.
I'm not sure. I was just informed. I brought it up in a conversation that they replaced a natural man's sperm cells with technology, and that they were able to, replace men. Well, I was speaking with my son about this, and he told me that since that has happened, science has also created a woman's egg synthetically. So I am not exactly sure. To my knowledge, when the gender modification or reassignment surgeries happen, I don't believe that they put in, ovaries and uteruses. I think it's just the, most used genitalia. To my knowledge, that is not possible.
We'll get there, though. I mean, it's not impossible. It's something that...
Yeah, we'll get there. I find it a shame that the transgender people, are hated so badly, and I find it a shame that they can't reproduce, because it is a kind of a stage in evolvement, because it is a proven scientific fact that anyone of a homosexual nature or a transgender nature also kind of has like the heart of gold thing going on. They're the last ones to abuse children in any way, probably because they suffered much abuse growing up, feeling different.
Yeah, a lot of them were that, right? And that's something the girl I was talking about that I was dating, she behaved like a hard ass, she was mean to people that she ran into, when we're walking on the street, she'd be like giving people the evil eye, and she'd like even start fights with people and shit. Like, she was a hard ass, obviously, because she had that exterior, but when we were alone, she had like a heart of gold. She was super kind and loving it, so that I can see how both of those aspects play into that she's defensive, yet she is super kind. I just noticed now that we were talking about this, you seem to have the attributes of a green. Have you looked into the color coding profiling shit that I've been posting?
No. Are you speaking of the 7 rays and the corresponding personalities?
No, that's something I'm looking into right now, though. I'm reading a book about that. But we have a color coding profiling system in the initiative that's reds are primarily emotion-based people, empaths. Greens are more mechanically oriented, biological people. Blues are intellectual people, more suited for communications and such. And you're always talking about like the hands giving away things, and you're like reading people's body shapes and body language. That seems like mechanical aspects. I tagged you for a purpler, though. The purpler is going to be the 4th color type.
Yeah, and that's what you're saying, those characteristics corresponding with the colors, that corresponds correctly to aura colors as well.
Yeah.
So I contain a little bit of every color. I'm mainly a purple, but...
That's what purplers are going to be.
I am very analytical, but there's other diagnoses that cause that to happen.
Speaking of diagnosis, we have the people who try to say that transgenderism, I guess they call it, is and like a mental dysfunction, a psychological illness. That really pisses me off. Like, there are very few things that piss me off. People talking about killing themselves pisses me off. and that shit saying that transgenderism is a psychological illness, that pisses me off. What do you think about that?
Not to justify that opinion, I can only relate that to factuality by bringing up what I first touched upon, which is hormonal differences during pregnancy. Because those hormonal differences is also what causes a child to be born with psychiatric problems. However, a person's sexuality or the gender they identify with has nothing to do with mental illness. You know, really the only part of sexuality that has anything to do with mental illness is pedophilia. And as long as, you know, a person isn't harming another, they are not mentally ill in any way, shape, or form for the most part, especially if we're dealing with sexuality.
I would say that if anything, it would be sort of a physiological ailment in the sense that they seem to have been born with the wrong body for the most part, and that's something else we touch on. I mean, do you think that, I don't really believe in souls, you know, I don't think we each have individual souls. I think we're each a part of one soul, but at the same time, you can consider a personality, perhaps a personality reincarnating. Do you think that that's the case, where it's actually a man or a woman being born into the opposite body?
Well, the thing is our sign placements determine whether we are projective or receptive, which translates to positive, negative, masculine, and feminine. However, a transgender person doesn't just have the improper genitalia to match their insides. Their facial construction usually matches the genitalia which they should have had. So it all depends. I do personally believe that we are one soul, part of a greater thing, but I believe that whether or not we exude dominance or submissiveness or femininity or masculinity all depends on the placement of our signs. And I have noticed the numerology also plays a role. Now, this really upsets my hetero people, especially the religious ones, but I am a numerologist and I have redesigned the whole entire system according to the English language. Anybody who is a 13 in any way actually has equal yin and yang energy, and that is related to like godly supremacy. Anyone who is a 13 will automatically feel more comfortable or wish to identify as the opposite of what they portray. And a lot of it is to protect themselves because they do have hearts of gold and they are tired of being hurt. And another part of it is to shut out the people who pursue them. And it's kind of like putting your flaws out there. So a person who truly loves you is going to accept you for that. You know, everyone who knows me knows I like to refer to myself as a man. I don't look like a man, but, you know, I have all masculine signs and also Asperger's, so I feel like a man. And
I have, personally, I've always said, I've told people many times, I have exceptionally high feminine qualities to my personality, and I do even have like a feminine personality kind of hidden, you know, that comes out from time to time, like a dissociative personality disorder, but that's not like a switch, like I'm not a completely different person and I don't remember me. I am still the same person, but I do have this feminine personality that comes out from time to time. And I do kind of wish that I had been born as a girl's body. I don't feel shitty about it, like I don't have dysphoria, but I feel gypped. I think I should have had a female body. I could have done a lot better with that.
Well, Capricorn is the highest point of femininity, so that is probably why you feel like that. I don't know very many men of feminine sign placements who don't feel that way, and it doesn't mean that they are homosexual at all. You know, a lot of them love women so much, they put them on a pedestal, a higher placement, right. And they kind of fact that they weren't given these beautiful bodies. And it really, your gender doesn't have anything to do with your sexual preference. It has to do with an internal identification. Yeah. And it really cannot be changed. It cannot be cured because it's no sort of illness. Can't be helped with talk therapy or anything. The only way you can help it is to not change, assert yourself, and change your company.
Encourage you and decide. I like to think that's one thing I touched on a long time ago. This is a kind of a controversial topic I touched on. You might be born, you might feel a certain way, and I'm a perfect example of this. This is why it was brought up, because we had someone who, a girl named Andrea, a trans girl named Andrea, who was intending to be our rep, but she got caught up and had to leave. But she suggested that she said she thinks that I'm trans because of the way I feel. And I made a video talking about this where I said that they say that being transgender is not a choice, but you might be born and feel a certain way. I feel like I could go either way, but I decide to be a man. Now, I could decide to express myself as a woman, and I could dress like a woman, I could behave like a woman, and that would be my decision. So I could go either way. I mean, you can't choose, per se, to feel how you feel. I mean, in a sense, at a certain level, you can get control over how you feel and alter your personality. But for the most part, people are born with a personality. They have a sexual preference. They have a gender association or identification. But you do choose whether you follow through with, expressing yourself one way or another. So you do choose to be a man or a woman. That's my take on it, is I say that, yes, it is a choice. It's a choice that you should make yourself, take responsibility for, and be proud of. If you choose to be a transgender person, you should be fucking proud of that. And people who are running around saying that it's a mental illness, we need to put a stop to that shit. That's thinking backwards from way back when. Old Freudian psychology bullshit. It's all wrong. It's been wrong for a long while. That's my take, my beat.
I also think people need to, like people as yourself who say they could go either way, I think sometimes what you need to portray has to be understood by what you hope to capture. If you were to portray yourself as a woman, would you find love in the grouping of women who would be attracted to you, or men? I think that has a lot to do with it. You understand what I'm saying there?
Kind of. I'd like to add, though, to what I'm saying is, as you said, I think that sexual preference and gender identification are two separate topics entirely, because I feel like I'd rather have been a woman, but I'm not attracted to men at all. Like, I find men to be, I don't want to be mean to men, but I find the male body disgusting. Sorry, I think even I don't look good, but the female body is gorgeous and beautiful, so I'd be a lesbian transgender girl for sure. I'm going to step and check and see if that's still recording. You can go ahead and talk, but I can still hear you.
Oh, okay. You mentioned a higher point of involvement, and as a person confirmed with Asperger's, my diagnosis has been revoked because they don't pick that up for me. But it is confirmed through physical traits, and I have 97 out of 100 of those. I have made it my purpose for many, many years to understand the disorder, and I have a lot of people in my life who are Aspies. The prevalence of gender confusion or gender displacement, I guess I'll say, is rampant among Aspies. And if you wanted to look into points to make it true that it's a higher state of involvement, you could definitely make that connection. I don't know very many female humans with Asperger's who don't welcome another female sexually or emotionally. And the same is with male people with Asperger's. They all seem to be rather bisexual unless they have not tried it at all.
Why? I mean, why do you think that is? I'd like to add really quickly that's another thing that pops up, another mechanical aspect, the numerology, the astrology. And I feel that way too, even though I'm a blue. I think of everything from terms of psychiatry, psychology, but I do think that the astrological placement, I think that the universe is a machine that builds personalities. And so, yeah, your astrological placement is going to be directly responsible for the building of your initial, inherent personality, for sure. I want to add that the color coding profiling system, the 4 color codes is the base, and then there are layers that come off of that. Numerology is one of them because numerology is accurate as fuck. We're iffy about the astrology, though, because one of our foundation members, Boo, my brother, he doesn't agree with it. He doesn't think that it's accurate. I do. Megan does.
He has a chart done.
I don't know, but I don't know because...
Yeah, that's the problem. You have to have your actual natal chart done because otherwise you are only reading 1/3 of yourself. I imagine 1/3 would not be considered accurate. So anyone who doesn't believe in astrology, I don't blame you. If you have your natal chart done and you don't believe in astrology, okay, maybe you should have me do it. If you don't believe at that point, I would venture to say that you don't actually know yourself. It is totally accurate.
Did you have the birthday book? The big book of birthdays that tells you like everything about yourself. That was so incredible. We got that. We passed it around way back when we were training. We were like, holy shit, man! It tells you exactly. Numerology is really good. Astrology is on. I don't see any problem with it. And it's funny that he should do that because he's the green. Out of the three of us, myself, Boob, and Megan, Boob's the green. You'd think he'd leave.
Well, he analyzes things. You can't hold that against him. What he has analyzed, though, probably isn't the proper information for him.
I'm gonna go ahead and get his. My niece Trinity, she hangs out over there a lot. She did my chart the other day. I'll have her do his and see what he says about it. I originally got my chart done by Sandra Lee Serio. You remember her? She was but she did all the horoscopes and astrology shit for the newspaper here in Cleveland. It was awesome. Oh, you're not in Cleveland. You're far away. Never mind.
To go back to something, because, sometimes I know nothing until it's mentioned and then it comes to me. I believe the reason why people who have Asperger's or high-functioning autism have a higher prevalency of, open to sexuality is because we only care about ourselves. We are not concerned with what others think or really how others feel. We are very in tune with how we feel, and I think that if more people were like that, more people would be much more open to differences in gender and preference.
Damn, that made me think of something. I just lost it, though. Do you think that... Yeah, because you said that astrology signs, there's going to be more feminine astrology signs, and Capricorn is more feminine. And now I'm wondering why Capricorn is more feminine. Because Capricorn is the sign that's its inherent trait is a sense of responsibility, and I'm the opposite of you. Even what Trinity said in my chart she read the other day, she told me that basically the whole thing is telling me that I need to take care of myself, that I care about other people too much, and I don't care about myself enough. And that's true.
Well, the reason why it's the peak of femininity is because if you look at the wheel of astrology, it is air and fire that are polarities, and those are masculine, and then water and earth, which are always polarities, and those are feminine. Now, when you go with involvement, everything starts in Aries. Therefore, Capricorn is the highest evolved state of the earth element. Pisces is the highest evolved state of the water element, but Pisces is a 13 because there's actually 13 signs. So whereas Pisces has the height of femininity in the whole entire zodiac, it falls into the 13 when they actually have a very dual nature. Therefore, Capricorn is considered the peak of femininity.
I have an idea. Next video that we do, you should do my numerology and tell me about it. And I'll do something for you. I'm really good with tarot cards. I don't have a deck, though. I'll figure something else out that I can do for you. But until then, I want to talk
Okay,
about.
well, that's between your information because I go through two different schools of knowledge. The Jewish original system and my own, which is typically about 15% more accurate. Also, current numerology does not have an actual understanding of the master numbers. It's flawed. Like, they don't consider 13 a master number. They consider it to be diminished down to 4. That is incorrect. It's inaccurate. 13 is definitely a master number. It is perhaps the most powerful master number.
13, and it's not just that there's 13 of everything. It's also that, I mean, there are 13 overall chakras in the system, the 7 primary, and then the extremities. You know, there's 13 of everything. Even the clock face, there's 12 hours, and then there's a center. Everything has 13, but I also think that the number 13 being added to everything, like we just recognized the 13th zodiac not too long ago, relatively speaking, that's a part of the evolution of our species. It's a part of us moving forward, I think.
Well, everything that we are exploring right now or deeming real has always been real. It was hidden throughout time, especially by Christianity.
It's a matter of realization, not.
There were 13 months. There were 13 months because there's 13 moons. If you want to divide them equally, it's 28 days, 28 degrees on the circle. That's why the circle should have 365 degrees. If you don't believe me, you can just look to the prefixes. If you study words and language, October is definitely not the 10th month. Oct is 8, and the month is supposed to, or the year is supposed to start in March. March 21st is actually the beginning of the year. And if you go ahead and do 28 degrees, 28 days, you will get it broken up into 13 months, which is why there's 13 moons. And actually, the chakra system up the base has 33.
Yeah, well, I was saying that there are smaller chakras we have yet to identify, but the primary chakra is going to be the 7 in the center, and then the extremities, the extra. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, before we run out of time, I want to talk about this idea of a transgender agenda. Do you know anything about that? Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yes, those people are trying to be happy. Like, that's their only agenda.
Right, but people think that there's some evil agenda. I want to know about that. Like, I don't know anything about it, but I hear it all the time. We have a rep who tells me about it.
I guarantee you it's religious poisoning. I guarantee you will not find a person without religion who says that the transgenders have an agenda. Their only agenda is to find and keep and be able to hold on to happiness and positive self-image and identification. Like every other person in this world has a God-given born right to. It goes along with religious doctrine and the hate that ensues and tries to kind of pump out in the form of mental poisoning to our youth. The transgenders do not have an agenda. They're not going to take over the world. They surely couldn't.
That's it, though. That's this religious outlook. That's the mental illness. And anybody that's watching trans people, you deserve that happiness. If you've decided to go through with that, express yourself as whatever you feel you are, and then you go out in the public like that with the kind of backlash you might get, you're badass motherfuckers. Every one of you need to be proud of yourselves and be very happy that you've done that. And go ahead, consider the choice or not. But if you do consider the choice, that's your responsibility, and you need to be very proud of what you're able to do with yourself, because that takes guts, that takes gall, that takes power.
I think it's more of a choice to ignore how they are and how they know they are. I have dated a transgender person. I have dated, people of the same sex. And all I do is ask them. I have never dated a woman who didn't understand their sexual preference before school even started or after the kindergarten age. A lot of times we don't know. Ooh.
What happened?
I got a thing, but it was saying that there was no limit to the recording.
Or you can keep talking.
Anyway, a lot of us who don't learn ourselves until you're really exposed to other people. So that is why a child might not understand what sex they identify with until they go to school. It is actually a proven Freudian concept about the Oedipus complex. A little boy who identifies with their mother, this all happens before the age of 3. They identify with their mother, they want to be her. That is going to be a person with a homosexual preference.
Yeah,
Those who want to be with her are going to be straight. So it is something we are definitely born with, and it has nothing to do with what sex of the parent you spend the most time with. It has nothing to do with anything except your chemical makeup, and that all stems from the womb. You are decided before you were born what kind of person you're actually going to be and what you have in you.
You do think that? That's something I question about, because I have memories of past lives, but I don't have memories of what happened between. I have memories of going to the never, what I've told you about that boundary, the never, the chaos, but I don't have any memories of what's beyond that, except for the one time I did DMT. I think that was a glimpse to what lies beyond.
Well, everyone has similar experiences on DMT, and I'll tell you, a lot of it has to do with what I've experienced stone sober. I don't actually partake in psychoactive substances, but it's all actually there. Sometimes we need to lower our inhibitions and put ourselves in a meditative or hypnotic states. Sometimes we use psychoactive drugs to do that.
Yeah.
But the hands form in the womb. Like in the 3rd month, if a woman experiences an overabundance of adrenaline, that is how we get hermaphrodites. Like it does come from the stress hormones. So
adrenaline, glutamate, dopamine, all that shit. Serotonin's involved.
Well, adrenaline and cortisol are specifically the stress hormones, but it is adrenaline that really imprints a child's sexuality and gender identification.
So, it comes down to being a mix. Like, I guess we would have to speak to the metaphysics of it, wherein the physical attributes do come into play, and of course the zodiac, this astrological alignment comes into play in creating your personality. But the reason behind it doing that is going to be your decision, is what you're saying. Like you've come in, the machinery of the universe is working towards what you've designed beforehand, before you were born.
It doesn't always require gender reassignment. Like I said, a lot of it has to do with what type of mate makes us happy. I prefer men of a feminine nature, and they really don't like it when I talk about myself identifying as a man, because that makes them feel, less masculine or whatever. But it really does depend on what we hope to spend our lives being. I've known kind of like career lesbians, I call them, who wanted to be a mother, and I told them, you're not built that way. Anytime they had children, they were unable to bond. It is definitely controlled mentally, but it's not a mental illness, and it really cannot be helped.
Right. See, now I think that it's my personal, because we work with time mechanics, and we're understanding how to manipulate the personality manually. So I do believe that you could change it, but I think it would be a mistake to do so. So it's not.
I think the only way you could change it is if you were to partner that person with a specific type. I have dated several men who have a homosexual preference because I give off that energy. That's another thing I do want to talk about. A lot of people don't understand sexuality and sexual preference doesn't have anything to do with genitalia for the most part. It's a specific energy type. If you put me with a straight feminine woman, I am probably not going to be very attracted to her. But if you put me with a dominant woman, it's like a magnetism. And that's the same thing. If you take a homosexual man and you expose them to very feminine women, they're going to identify with, like the Oedipus complex. They're going to see that woman as a friend. If you put a homosexual male with a woman of like my type, they will, forget the homosexuality is a preference of theirs because they sense the energies. Even those of us who are not psychic are able to sense energies, and you can find out exactly what you want by looking at the energy placements of those that you actually loved.
It's off topic, but when you view, like you said, that the color types are going to match up with the colors of the aura, and we do have that 7 rays thing in play. I don't know that yet, but I'm going over it now. But do you think that we can see, because I can see halos and auras, I don't see the color, and I think it's probably because my eyes have a color deficiency. I just see like a holographic silver over everybody, but I can see it. It's there. So do you think that we can actually see the values that make up a personality with our eyes? Like, you think we could see the mechanics of a person in their meridians and their energetic vectors and such?
So only if you know what the colors mean. Every human child under the age of 7 has the ability to physically see human auras and animal auras. Every living being has an aura. If you child under the age of 7 a pack of crayons and just tell them to draw the colors, draw the colors around mommy, they will do that. And if you practice it with them, that's a trait that will never, ever, ever leave them. I personally see the color physically very rarely, however, I am able to sense it. And I know I, for one, not only sense a person's dominant chakras, which are portrayed in the aura, I will sense chakras that are extremely unbalanced in one way or the next. Once you have all that information, you know if a person is spiritual, sexual, murderous, bad, liar, depressed. So yeah, you should be able to tell a lot about the quality of a human based upon what you pick up or see physically in the aura.
See, that's really cool. It's not something I don't anticipate myself ever being able to do it. Like I said, I can't see the colors, and I don't see how I could train myself to. But when you sense them...
Well, you do that by holding your hand up to something white.
Yeah, and you want... The best way to do it for anybody who's learning to see auras from the way that I've done it, you're going to put your hand up and you want to have light on your hand, like because what you're going to see in the aura is the light that's coming on it, refracting in it, and you want to have a dark background, a shadowed background with no light on it, and have your hand in the light and look at it, just look around the edges and soften the focus of your eyes, like, blur your eyes, put them out of focus and look kind of off. You don't have to look in the periphery exactly, but a little off. And you can put your fingers together and you can see them make a line that's going to connect between the two. So that's how I practice.
When I look at my own hand, I always just put it up against like a white wall. Yeah. And I've noticed that one side of my hand will always have purple and the other side will always have yellow. And that's my personality type and psychology type. I bebop between purple and yellow, which honestly is the breaking point between highly spiritual and slightly psychotic. So that's me, and I have never really told my aura is any other color. What?
We should do a whole episode on that for the other course, and for this one, we should do an episode on, I want to talk about the BDSM culture. That's something that gets to me. I think we're running. Yeah, I think we're running on this one.
One thing I do want to tie in real quick, I have noticed that almost every person who is of the transgender nature has a magenta aura. And that is a person who is able to accomplish much more than other orators. So I imagine that's a lot of the hate that they encounter is sheer jealousy. And jealousy, envy, or provoking feelings in others that make others uncomfortable.
Totally. I think it's envy and jealousy a lot is where the hatred comes from, because they don't have that kind of power. People look at them, they don't have that kind of confidence, they don't have that kind of power to step up and do something like that. And most of them probably want to be that, you know? But when I say that I think transgenderism, I don't like that word, but that's the only one I have. I think that it's a fusion of the two sexes together. I mean, if you're a woman in a man's body and you become a woman bodily, physiologically, that's unity. That's a fusion. To me, that's like a God form. That's what I see.
That's what I've been saying. The 13s, the super high evolved, all Aquarians are half gay. You know, it's like it comes with that form of evolvement, and it is a godly state. It is higher evolved. That's probably why the religious, agenda.
Shut it down. Yeah. That's going to be another aspect of it too. Is I lost it. I forgot what I was going to say. But
we should probably wrap things up.
We should wrap this one up for now. We'll do another one but we'll talk to the transgender community first before we continue along this line, and then we'll do another one. I want to do the one on the BDSM stuff. I'm sure there'll be other topics in there. So everybody, thank you so much for watching. Our crossover event is awesome. So if you don't like it, kiss it. But very nice to be seen. You guys have a lovely time, and hope to meet with you soon. Thank you for watching. Keelah, siari, Namasté.